Well, welcome to a very cold and wet and grey day in January here in London. And we thought that we might try and warm you up by your PCs by showing you a piece of film which we recorded last July when we went to see an energy from waste plant near Antwerp in Belgium on what turned out to be the hottest day in Europe in 2010. Now, the reason why we went there was because this particular energy from waste plant had been operating successfully for many years, and then it ran into a little bit of local difficulty to do with communications in the local community. And we went to see if we could learn something from their experience, which might be helpful as we try to get more energy from waste plants built here in the UK. Anyway, enjoy the film and the sunshine. So continuing our quest to find some of the best examples of waste management practice in Europe, we've come here to Isvarg, near Antwerp in Belgium, to this fantastic energy from waste plant, which had been operating for many years until something interesting happened back in the 1990s. And that change was a change in regulations, which meant that at this plant they had to start monitoring and analysing dioxins. And as soon as the dioxin word was mentioned, it was like opening Pandora's box for fears and concerns within the local community. An area which had been happy to have an energy from waste plant within their midst for many years suddenly found themselves being next to something which they did not understand. There were genuine fears within the community about what was happening. So we've come here to find out what they did to try and change people's perceptions about this type of plant. Most people's perceptions about modern waste management doesn't take into consideration the application of new computer-controlled technology. And here we see a very good example of just how you can use modern technology to make operations like this safe. Of course, when you speak to most members of the public and talk to them about energy from waste, their immediate perception is about an incinerator, and that's what I've got behind me now, a modern stepped hearth incinerator that burns about 140,000 tonnes of waste. But as we've seen on this trip, there's a lot more to modern energy from waste than simply the incinerator. So like a lot of modern engineering, it might not be pretty, but this is where the real key to this plant is. This is where they take 140,000 tonnes of waste and turn it into useful heat and electricity. What it loses in aesthetic pleasure, it makes up for in efficiency. So I'm now joined by Philip, who is the chairman of the company that runs this plant. Philip, can you tell us what kind of a reaction you got from the local community when they first heard about the dioxin issue?
It was more or less a warfare communication. It was black or white. They did this, we will say that. There was no dialect at all. It was only after several steps that they went to court and we had to go to court that finally, by a judicial decision, the debate was finished. I started in 2001, and the first thing I did was to focus tremendously on communication. And next year I will be 10 years chairman of this plant, and in those 10 years you really see that we've been growing up. I mean, instead of being a kind of a Chernobyl, which was the idea of these waste-to-energy plants, we now became a waste Disney. We're welcoming more than 3,000–4,000 people a year coming to visit this plant, and we are participating with all kinds of events. Today we have a more adult way of communication.
Do you think that, I mean, you put a lot of investment in terms of money and time to change people's perceptions of the plant. If there was another change in legislation which said that you'd had to tighten up on another type of emission, how do you think the local community would react to that? Will you get value out of all this investment you've put in?
In the next weeks, I will have to take a decision which is with a political majority, I hope, in a large area, to see what we will do. Shall we continue of staying here for 10 years or less or more, or are we going to invest in something else? Now, this debate is something I prepared carefully, with debates with members of government, politicians, but also with people around here in the area, with environmental groups and everything. So if someday a decision is taken about the future of this company or about a more severe emissions or whatever, I don't think we would have the same problems. We would be prepared. We would be able to communicate why we are doing it, and we will be able to illustrate that the investments that we would put forward really would benefit the whole of the community.
Philip, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So it seems amazing to me that so many people are against modern energy from waste. Outdated perceptions about the technology are holding back this vital step in the way of generating new renewable energy at a time where we've got to find alternative ways of generating electricity and heat. Surely modern energy from waste has a vital role to play, and we should never forget that just because it's waste, it shouldn't be wasted. Well, we hope you enjoyed that little bit of sunshine, and the summer seems an awful long way away, particularly on a cold and wet and windy day in January here in the centre of London. But there was a very important point for us which came across in that film, which was just how important it was for that business to go in a sustained way to engage with its local community. And they genuinely believe that now they've done that should the same situation arise again in the future, they would perform in a far better way. The summer does seem an awful long way away, but we shouldn't forget that the government is going to publish in May this year its long-awaited review of waste policies. We don't know what's going to be in it, but we hope there's a significant push for the development of energy from waste within the United Kingdom. But time will tell.